I turned the camera on and it stayed. That doesn't happen very often these days. It's still like 3 minutes until noon, so it's still in the morning, technically. My oldest son Brandon took off work today, had to. We had a huge limb fall on the fence out in our front yard. Those of you that don't know, that's me blowing my nose. Now, what you don't know, it's been a while since I've shown any video or pictures of where we live. We have these huge pecan trees all around the office, around the house, and they drop limbs. Pecan trees self-prune, and a huge limb fell off one of the ones in front of our house down on the fence. I've got to get my son Benjamin here in a little bit to see if he can locate our chainsaws and get them running, one of them running. I've got a chainsaw file in my desk here, but let me get a sip. Bo and I had to go to Walmart. I bought a 50-pound bag of dog food, or 46 pounds. They cut cost and still charge more any way they can. Nature of the beast, I guess. But the dogs needed dog food, and we had breakfast at Walmart, sitting in my van in the shade. There's a lot going on that if you're ill prepared, some of it is going to get really scary really soon. What do I mean by that? A friend of mine called me, good friend, lives in southern Oklahoma too, and asked me if we knew how many businesses were owned by Muslims. Well, let me explain something. We don't keep track, the agency I work for part-time now, we don't keep track of anyone but those affiliated with terrorists, I guess I should say. In Murray County and Carter County, there are 31 businesses that are owned by those that wish our nation harm. Nationwide, I would have to look it up, but it's substantial. Every major city in the United States has basically a secreted away terrorist cell in it. Every one. They've been coming over here for decades with the sole, and IAs, intelligence agencies, refer to them as sleeper cells, but foreign governments help set them up. They funnel in weapons and they set them up to strike when they just have to have the word. Our government knows where all these are, but the problem you've got right now is you've got an executive branch in the government that's not only ineffectual, they basically aid the enemy. $6 billion that Biden released, instructed to be released to Iran, try $50 to $70 billion. That's right. Anthony Blinken has been instrumental in funneling a lot of money to those that wish our nation harm. I have folks that watch this channel that are going to take exception to what I just said. Well, you either agree with me or you don't. And you're perfectly okay to not agree with me, to disagree. But, folks, these are the last days biblically. We have horrendous things happening, and you're going to see them drift over into the United States. It'd be nice if that didn't happen, but I'm not very hopeful that it won't. It already has. It goes all the way back to Isaac and Ishmael, sons of Aaron, or Abraham rather. This hostility between the Muslims and the Jews has been ongoing for centuries, just to be blunt about it. It'll come to a screeching halt when Jesus comes back, because he's not going to tolerate that nonsense, and they're going to find out he is the God of this world and he is the boss. Any way you want to cut it. And if you hate him, you're going to get toasted. Well, not toasted, you're going to get fried to a cinder. You'll be a piece of charcoal if you're anything. Now, things going on here. My son Chris's wife's car, my daughter-in-law Tiffany's car, the motor gave up the ghost last night, and I had to take my old van and tow them back to the farm. And they both have jobs, and they didn't have a choice. They made a deal with Tiffany's brother and bought a pickup off of him last night so they could get back and forth to work, and they're going to have to make payments. My youngest son likes his new job. He's good at it. He's good at operating equipment and everything that these guys want done. He can do it. I don't have any profound advice to give, but I do have some advice to give. I've already told people ad nauseum, get you a pew-pew or 2 or 3 and ammunition and become proficient with them. This is a Model 65 Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum. I carried it when I was a street cop. I had a partner named Claude Williams, and my son Nicholas has Claude Williams' old Service 357. I think it's a 681. And he's got my old partner, best friend's boot gun, which is a 38 Special, which I need to work on for him. I have several handheld pew-pews and shoulder pew-pews. That's all I'm going to say on that. But My advice is to get you a handheld, a handgun for self-defense. And if you're wanting something to hunt game with, get you a really good 22 rifle that shoots 22 long rifles, because you can kill a deer with it. My daddy, I have his, it's put up in the house. He used to have it out here, but my daddy had one that he killed a lot of deer, a lot of rabbits, a lot of squirrels with, and I've killed 2 deer with it myself and killed a lot of rabbits and a lot of squirrels with it. It's an antique, but it's still shootable. And something I'm not good at, I've got all the gear to do it, and that's fishing. But my younger brother that's infirmed, that lives in our den, he's an excellent fisherman. I'm far better at hunting than I am at fishing. I used to actually hunt down men for different agencies. As a matter of fact, the day before yesterday, I had one of my, I had my immediate supervisor get a hold of me, and he wanted me to meet with a couple of U.S. Marshals. They wanted to employ my services to chase fugitives, because I was good at doing it in the brush, in the woods, on ground. They're good at finding them electronically and checking all that stuff. And I told him to tell him I can't do that anymore. It's all I can do to walk. I'm on 2 walking canes today. I'm not 30 years old and in prime physical condition anymore. That was 40 years ago plus, and I'm just not capable of doing it. I still have all the tools and all the skills, I just don't have the physical means to do it. And it kind of miffed these guys, but let me explain what's going on with a lot of things so that you know. I have a lot of friends that are special operators, that are retired special operators with the government, spec ops. That used to work for SOCOM, Special Operations Command. I had notification. A lot of these guys are being recalled right now, not because they can physically do anything. A lot of them are like me, have seen better days and are crippled, but they give them a test to see if their mental acuity is still there. I passed with flying colors, which amazed me, but they extend the call, and they get reactivated if the guy is willing. I need to add that in there. It's not like, you're gonna do it or we're gonna. They do it voluntarily. And this has happened to several guys I know, some of which are actual friends, just not friendly acquaintances. They extend the call, and if you're willing, you answer it. Most of the men and women that receive that, and yeah, there are some women that this applied to as well. This was way before Israel got attacked. Let me explain why this is taking place. There was a provision in the handbook of instructions, I guess you'd call it. All these guys all signed a non-disclosure agreement, and you can't disclose stuff that you're specifically forbidden to disclose. You can disclose a lot of things, just certain things you can't. But in that general handbook of instructions and in the and the non-disclosure agreements we all signed, there is a provision that says you are subject to recall in perpetuity, in other words, forever. I was reissued my credentials. I had them, they're in there someplace. We just haven't gone through everything. The upstairs part of that shop is covered up, but they issued my badge back to me, and my credentials, and on there it says Senior Analyst Emeritus. That's me. That's what I used to do. Used to look at scenes and see what was going on and issue a report, and then the folks I worked for, they acted on that report. There were basically me and 8 other guys. Well, more than that. There were 17 of us originally. We're down to 9. Many of us died. A lot of us became 4 expatriates, 4 nationals. I have friends I worked with that lived down in Baja, California, which is Baja, Mexico, off the grid, and that's fine. That's what they want to do. You don't have to come back. Once you reach that magic age of 65, you really have the option of not agreeing to come back. Well, 65 was a long time ago for me. I'm not trying to give away how old I am, but I'm not a spring chicken anymore. But the bottom line on all that is a bunch of us got recalled. Active duty, when you're a senior citizen, isn't for something you can do physically. Now, I've got some buddies that are my age that physically could enter a regular tough man contest and win it. I'm not one of those guys. Like my friend that called me told me, you know, we're too old to be taking a beating. But and I won't. I'm always able to defend myself. Oh, I could take somebody down, but let me tell you something, I would pay for it and maybe end up in a hospital or a nursing home for the effort. But I have this to say about all of that. This was negotiated with different spec op groups 2 months ago. I can't tell you why it took place, but I can tell you it did take place, and there's a lot of guys right now that are being recalled. Why did this happen? Well, because you have the hierarchy at the Pentagon. A lot of them are woke. They're touchy-feely. Now, for the first time in the history of our military, they're allowing obese people to become a member of the service. The physical requirements are a joke. It's just, it's the touchy-feely crowd have taken over the intelligence agencies. They've taken over the military. We still have the finest service men and women in the world. Absolutely. Especially the old-timers that have been in there over a couple of years. I know several. I have friends I love dearly that are active duty military. And let me tell you, the traitors that are in Congress and in the executive branch, and mark my words, there are traitors in there. They're doing their dead level best to turn this nation into a socialist nation. Let me get a sip. I have a lot of friends that are veterans. I'm a veteran. Have a friend in Florida named Chris Kimball I've mentioned on here many times. He's a veteran of the United States Army. And rather than feel sorry for himself, the man goes out and works every day. That's one example of many I could give on here. I know a lot of veterans. Our local police chief's a combat veteran. He goes out and he works every day. I know veteran police officers that have been through the grist mill, and they still get up every morning, they still get dressed, they still go work. Unfortunately, we have those in the Congress of the United States of America that are trying to get it established that everyone has to rely on the federal government for your sustenance. So this is my final advice before I sign off of here. Get you some food storage. Learn to garden. Learn to hunt. Learn to fish. Learn to forage. Get you a supply of things you will need in case of a medical emergency. Down there I've got a big case that is basically a giant first aid kit, and it's got all that in it. I don't touch it. I don't deplete the supplies in there. I check on them about once a year. They've been in there for 3 years. If I had to, I could set limbs. I could do minor surgery. I could stitch people up. And you need to learn that. I used to be an emergency medical technician when I was younger. It was part of the requirement for what I was doing for a living at the time. Still have the knowledge, I just don't practice. Learn first aid. Learn to be self-aware. Always be aware of your surroundings. Safety comes from that. And work. I'm an old man and I still work. My friend that called me the other night, he says he doesn't work. I know better. I've known him for decades. Lives in Lone Grove. Hi, Monty. He works. He says he doesn't. That's bullcorn. I know better. Now, I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to finish this up and go in and see my wife, see how she's doing, see what we got to do to get this giant pecan limb. And it's bigger than a lot of trees, folks. Fell on our fence. The goats are put up. I've got to go check on my wife and check on a lot of other things. Know this crazy old man with the funny hat on loves you with his whole heart. I do. Want you to thank God for your blessings, because you are blessed. And like that sign up there says, be kind. Always be kind. Bye.